I have done this for a long time, and I will tell you that when a borrower or a realtor calls us frustrated, upset, bothered, always for the same reason. Do you know what that reason is? We call it black hole syndrome. They're in a black hole and they just don't know what's going on. It's not even the information that, oh my gosh, I might end up with a higher rate, or oh, I might need a bigger down payment, or I have a problem with my credit. The problems we can all solve. It's not knowing and being in a black hole of like, what's happening next? Are you going to get back to me? Is there a solution to my problem? Communicate.
All right, welcome to an episode of Real Estate vs. Technology Unleashed. Super excited for today's podcast episode. We actually had an individual that we've known for many years, Phil, who's actually on our podcast, is working with the gentleman that we're going to be bringing on today, and we're going to be going in the mortgage world. So talk a little bit about mortgage. He's been 20 plus years in the industry, and he has done very well for himself. So we want to go deep into over the years as he's done $300+ million in production and being a top producer, being over in New York City. And then as he's been growing, what has he done to be able to get to the point of where he's at now, to be able to stay up on technology, keep differentiating himself, and have the success he's had to this point today. So welcome the one and only Michael Moss on the show. Super excited to have you on Real Estate vs. Technology Unleashed. And how's your day going today?
Great. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and appreciate the opportunity here. So thank you.
Yeah. We like to tie in where it's like you watch a podcast, right? And typically it's that one guest, that one episode. But, truth to be told, for viewers and listeners out there, and to put it out there, like every podcast kind of like has a compound effect, right? And so you'll meet one person, and that one person will then help you meet that second person and third person, and so on and so forth. And that could be SOI for the real estate professionals out there, right? Your sphere of influence, you do a good job. Next, you get a referral, right? So you're kind of like that referral here into our podcast. And so, shout out to Phil. He's a great motivational speaker. He's a coach, and someone that potentially you can go check out his podcast episode. I'll make sure the team puts that information down below. And so I wanted to give kudos where kudos was well-deserved, because I appreciate you too and your time being on today's show. And let's get into your story. Of course, we want to talk a little bit about how technology has evolved your business over the years, and why you got in the business and what have you. And we're going to go deep into multiple different areas. And of course, also, when you think about mortgage, it's not the most sexiest, right? It's black and white. Does the numbers make sense, right? And it just kind of is what it is. So let's get into your story now, back 25, 26 years ago. Tell us a little bit about, why you got into real estate. Was this in your family? Is this something that you grew up with? Is this something that you kind of just stumbled upon? What got you into doing what you do today?
Yeah, so I'll tell you my story as we go, and cut me off as you see fit. I'll try as much as I can. I mean, I'm trying to retell the story with a bit of a technology twist, if you may, because I love the question and I think it's relevant to the audience. So I'm a math guy. My father was a math guy. When I would come home and do homework, it was like pronouns, adverbs, and stuff like that. I was like, oh, shoot me in the head. But when it came to like a math question, it was just like, it made complete sense to me. Now I'm blessed. Unfortunately, my father passed away 15 years ago. I have a 14-year-old son that was named after him. And for anyone that does or doesn't believe in genetics, I could tell you that my 14-year-old son is also just a math genius. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it genetically connects or doesn't, but super strong. Like certain things we have to, I guess it's that part of our brain. So always loved math. Math was like a really important part of this job as I got into it. And the funniest story that I tell is, so this is the end of 1999. I get into the mortgage business, and someone hired me because they said they needed someone in a closing department, which was really, I learned, I'm a dishwasher up guy, you know what I mean? Like mailroom story, if you may. Start at the very bottom, learned post-closing what investors were even looking for to purchase loans. So then I could reverse engineer into, well, then I need this for underwriting, because I got to see what it took for the investor to actually buy that loan after it's closed. And if they give you a hard time, what it actually takes. But the funny story I want to share with you is, so I get there and I'm running a closing department, right? And there's a guy, Danny, a nice, old school accountant, CPA, and Danny was running accounting. Now they had a typeset And this is 1999. I'm not like a 70s, 80s guy. Like there was technology, there were computers. There was like I'm not that dated, right? Back then, they're still using a typesetter. I had a typewriter at my desk, and they had this legal size paper that was a closing statement that you would call a HUD one, a loan estimate, a closing disclosure today.
Yep.
And this is they want you to put it into a typewriter and type out the numbers and then fax that over to the closing department.
What?
I'm not a genius and I'm not from a tech background. I wasn't writing software. But I was like, guys, there's this document called Excel. It's pretty genius. I was like, we could just put this into a basic formula that will just add up these 9 lines because
Yep.
I'm not in code. I wasn't proficient in Excel. I just knew. Now, that's the funny part. But the best part of the story is about 3 months later, Danny and I meet up outside the office. He
Yeah.
goes, Michael, I thought now I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little bit of a wise guy and I have, I have a certain demeanor to me. And he goes, Michael, I thought you were a real wise guy, with that whole Excel sheet you wanted me to do. I want you to know it's now been 90 days. We have cross checked every one of your Excel sheets, and the math adds up every time. And I froze for a
Wow.
second. And I said, Danny, you do know that the calculator on your desk uses the same algorithm that Excel does. You did not have to cross check Excel's math, but that was so I bring that up as a tech to real estate because you do get very used to doing things in a certain way. And I
Yeah.
have tried over the last 25 plus years to navigate into all the way to today's the AI world and stuff. But if you're not continuously using technology, AI, and other forms to evolve, and you stay like the Danny's in my story where you're going to sit there with a pen and pencil, you will
Yep.
get lost, right? So it's
100%.
very important to adapt.
Either you're going to evolve or die, right? And we were just recording with Zach, and he was here in the studio for our in-person version of our show. And we're talking about over the years from short sale REO market and how that used to be and how things have evolved over the years. And it's funny how you said like he had to go through and fact check. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. No fact checking, which on your calculator is the same algorithm. But that goes to show people still have to get out of their own way somehow. And like that fact checking was like, this is how I'm going to get out of my own way. Just like yesterday, I had a meeting with an agent on the Liftoff agent side that sponsors our show here for Real Estate First Technology. And it was like he used to be in the tech, real estate, not only real estate, but tech background, developing websites or whatever the case may be. Now he's a real estate professional. And then I'm over here talking to him about websites and all the things that we do from the sponsor perspective at Liftoff Agent. And he had to take all this time to like finally lower his guard. And I'm like, hey, you do what you do, which is work with buyers, work with sellers, film videos. You're on YouTube, you're doing your thing. Let us do our thing. We do the websites, we do the marketing, we're on our side. And, that's great. Congratulations that you used to do what you used to do. But like now it's time to evolve. And I think that viewers and listeners out there, you got to evolve. And that's where I feel like with ChatGPT and AI, which we can get into in today's show, I suck at reading. I'm not a good reader or writer. I held back twos in my ears, learning disability, all the things, but I use the chat GPT now to then fact check. All right, this is my spelling. This is the write up. Please fix the grammar, make it more powerful. I want to emotionally be moving, and they take the DNA of what I wrote and they fix it. So I love that. I love that story.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Do you want to jump right into chat?
Let's jump in. Let's
Yeah.
jump in. We're already going there.
So I'll tell we could jump all around as you see fit, but I'll tell you that you know, chat is it. I see chat as kind of someone in the '80s when they first had a computer. Then the internet was coming out, and people were very, very, very scared, and a
Yeah.
lot of jobs were replaced.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in our industries, from real estate to mortgage, are very worried that some of those jobs will be taken away. And I can't promise you that NVIDIA is going to go bankrupt. And I can't tell you that, there is no chat that might take us over. But I could tell you that the sales side and the human side and the interaction shouldn't be going away anytime soon and
Amen.
always adds value. But using chat for whether it's chat, Gronk, Gemini, whatever it is, where I have seen tremendous lift is I started very basic, and I have a team of people that I've hired, and I'm continuously always looking to hire people on the team. And I spend a lot of time with them showing them how to utilize chat in their day to day business. And one of the things that I help them focus on is chat is, do you remember WYSIWYG? Like when computers
Yeah.
first came out, WYSIWYG is what you see is what you get. And what I mean
Okay.
by that is computers in the 80s used to be if you wanted to type something in bold, you'd have to do Control B, highlight it, and that was a DOS computer that would make it bold.
Got
Well,
it.
Microsoft came out with Word and Excel and other things, and you just press a button and it becomes bold. What you see is what you get was
Yeah.
WYSIWYG, which was a formation. I think there's a very similar transformation happening with chat, which is you need people with years of experience, whether it's
Yep.
5, 10, 15, or 20. And chat will take what you have and enhance you and make you into a better version, like you just said before, whether it's applying to emails and stuff. So when I first started about a year ago integrating that into my day to day, I would get an email, dump it into chat, and go, what do I do? Like, how do I even respond? And grammar based and emotion based, they would teach you like first talk. I am now at the next level, which I talk to my people about. I'm like, okay, I dump that into chat and I go, read their personality and help
Mm.
me respond to them in kind. Meaning, just because I have information, let's say I'm a real estate agent, a mortgage guy, whatever else it is, and they ask me a question, and I'm going, okay, I have the answer. Let me just answer you. Where I
Yep.
think there's a great enhancement to chat is understand the other person from understanding their tone and the way they're talking to you. What are they really trying to get at? What is their real question? And how could you best serve them by answering them in kind? Now, if you have a
Mm.
psychology major and you happen to be doing real estate, then great. And you could read into every person. But if you're not, and you're just a day to day salespeople like we all are, it's a great tool to use to become more efficient in how you communicate so that you're not just communicating like a computer, you're actually speaking to the person in kind to the way they understand.
Oh my God. You hit the nail on the head with that one. And a quick side story on that is like anyone viewing and listening, right? I'm sure Michael, you can relate to this, is you know, I guess you could say glorified therapists, right? A lot of agents out there, a lot of individuals in this industry, they're dealing with heightened emotions. One of the biggest purchases that you'll make in your life. And so when you're going through that process, it's easy to be able to misinterpret what the email says, right? If you're not on the phone call, it's one thing to be able to understand tonality. There's no tonality with the actual text on screen, and it depending on punctuation and how it's written out. So I could imagine using chat from a perspective of like, hey, I'm feeling some type of way. And I want to make sure that the way that I'm feeling, I don't put that into the email where then it feels dismissive. It's so easy to be dismissive and or have a tonality in the message when you're sending out an email that maybe make the other person feel some type of way that maybe you do or don't want them to feel. So I love the idea of using chat, write up the email and say, here's the email, here's my reply. I'm feeling some type of way right now, maybe heightened emotions, emotionally charged, whatever the case may be. Maybe you're working on a deal for 30, 60, 90 days. It blew up, and you want to still say something back because maybe there's 1% that the deal could still go through. Chat could be a good way to be able to do an articulated response to take the emotion out of the equation and make it as articulated and as professional as you can so you can hopefully save the deal or maybe get a referral in the future or maybe move on from that deal and work on the next if that one did implode.
So I want to just add to that, which is sometimes I watch these kind of podcasts, and you're fantastic. I think close to 600 podcasts, as you mentioned. It's unbelievable, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's a lot of time and effort, and you have the right personality, which is what makes it so successful. So you watch some of this stuff on the outside. So let's say I'm one of the viewers that's watching this, and so okay, you're making some great points. I'm making some great points. Like, and how do I apply that to me, Joe Schmo, the realtor out of Pittsburgh? Do you know what
Yep.
I mean? So I just wanted to add to this of like an actual example, literally just happened, because then maybe someone could take it as like a real takeaway. Just like a realtor, we're mortgage professionals. We have to follow up with people. from my example here of reading personality, I'll always try to take a minute and read through the email and get some of chat's, advice before I respond. So I
Mm.
send out two emails yesterday or today, or whichever one they were. And one email is like, okay, read their personality and tell me the best way to follow up with them. And I always want to end with an open ended question. So I'm like,
Oh.
because I want to engage them, why, they should actually respond versus not
Yeah.
responding. So they write me a nice email. I look through it, and then you have to push back a little bit. I'm like, that's not really my voice, or that's a little too salesy. Like, I still want
Yeah.
this to be a human interaction. Fine. They give me one. And then I send it back. Then I'm doing another one later in the day, and I come back and I go, hey, I want to follow with this one also. And they go, give me a draft. And I go, okay, but remember, I want to finish with an open ended question. And they write back to me the following. They go, not for this kind of person. This is a person that is ridiculous, that is very organized, has everything mapped out. And they clearly wrote in the email to you, they are following the steps. And when they're ready for the
Mm.
next step, so don't be pushy. There's no reason for you to end your email with an open ended question of like, when are you going to get
Wow.
back to me? Or when are you going to know something? Now, for all those that are living on like templates where like you reply back the same way to every single person, you're wondering why 30% of them don't answer you because you're not customizing it. Now, one would think that customizing it would be an enormous amount of time and effort. Use
Hmm.
a tool like Chat, Gemini, or Gronk. They will do that work for you in nanoseconds and make you a lot more productive, but also
Mm.
personalized to each person.
Wow, wow, wow. Very powerful. And if that was helpful, we would love to get your commentary down below in the chat. People, I feel like right now, because of ChatGPT and technology, what we're seeing in the marketplace is people that are a lot more educated, right? It's no longer from the perspective of, yeah, I just want to buy a house. And this is obviously, it's still there. The traditional, I just want to buy a house. I have no idea. You go out and you just find like an agent and start searching for homes, not even pre qualified yet. And then find yourself, find out the hard way that you can't afford the home. But on the other side of the coin, there's a lot more people that are using chat and various different things as far as AI to just get more educated. Even what we're seeing in the marketplace now, individuals are doing more of like less about the property, more about the area. So let's talk about, okay, proximity of the listing. Where am I going to eat? Where am I taking my kids to school? What's the HOA look like? I mean, even the neighborhood and maybe even the demographic of the neighborhood. Is that something that I want to get myself involved in? Especially if you're going to be living in the house for an average of 5 to 7 years. And especially if you're going to be in it for 30 years, you want to make sure that's going to be something that's going to make the most sense. And so that's super smart to be able to navigate that process that way and be able to know who you're talking to. And I think that what you're saying makes a lot of sense, especially for someone who's not seasoned, right? I think that someone who's 1 to 5 years in the business compared to 25 to 26 years in the business, obviously, Michael, you know how to navigate conversations and intellect and how to be able to know when to push and when not to push. And I think that people could use chat exactly like you said, 1 to 5 years in, even more that maybe don't know how to articulate or move around conversations from someone that maybe they pick up a luxury buyer and this luxury buyer wants to buy a $6 million home, but they're 1 to 5 years in. They're not going to understand how to navigate that specific buyer because they don't maybe have the past experience of compared to ChatGPT that can automatically give it to them pretty quick from the perspective of email, like you said.
Yeah, and to double down on that, if I'm an agent, I'm not a real estate agent. But if I was a
Yeah.
real estate agent and just listening to what you're saying, if I'm showing someone a neighborhood, another idea, get creative. You can
Mm.
literally throw into chat, find out where they work, and give them on a daily basis. This will roughly take you 10 to 11 minutes to get to your job. Imagine adding that kind
Ooh.
of value to someone. And when you're talking to them, you're talking to a prospective buyer. They're like, oh, where are you buying? Oh, I'm buying in West LA. Well, where's your office? I'm in Westwood, whatever it may be, right? Do you go to the gym a lot? Well, yeah, I always go to the Equinox on XYZ. Imagine
Yeah.
you take that data, throw into chat when you follow back up with them. By the way, here are two homes. I just wanted to show you next to each home. This one is actually right on your way to work, and you could stop by the gym, and it doesn't add any more time to your commute. And this one, although it's a nicer house with a bigger yard, you'd be adding XYZ because you and I both know that's exactly what the buyer's worrying about and thinking
Ooh.
about. So use that kind of material to get into
Yeah.
the mindset of the borrower. What's helpful to the borrower not how many grocery stores are there. They obviously know this grocery store. So like sometimes the agents, the mortgage real, they get very robotic with this information. The beauty
Mm.
of the chat is start getting creative. Think about like how you want to
Ooh.
differentiate yourself and use that as a tool to help you do it.
Yeah, and you could even go deeper too down the rabbit hole with that. You could be like, well, if you want to go to gym A instead of gym B, that's going to be the nicer house, but you are going to have a 10-minute more of commute, which then after that times 5 times 4 times 52 weeks in a year, plus gas and mileage, you're going to have an additional, maybe 20,000 miles in your car next 5 years, and you're going to spend XYZ on gas. So do you want that? Or do you want to take that money and put it into the house B? Because then you can just take the money and have a nicer yard that you're going to basically have the money to do because you're not going to have to spend 10 more minutes going outside the way that you need to go to this gym. Plus, if there's a car accident, that's a whole nother story because now you're late for work.
You know, the number one thing about buying or selling your real estate is pros and cons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everyone is like, what's the pro? What's the con? Anyone that's sitting on a 2.5% interest rate right now and thinks they want to sell their home, don't want to give up. It's the number one conversation. Do sellers want to give up their 2.5, 3% interest rates? Right?
That's me.
So if it's a pro and a con, have those conversations. And if you're not educated enough or don't have the knowledge to your point, use these tools to help you educate yourself, to help educate the borrower. It's so
I,
much easier.
I love that. I love that. And just, as a couple cliff notes here for viewers and listeners out there, when you're selecting, and I'm just going to do shameless plug, we just met, but just from the intellect of our conversation and anyone out there selecting a lender to potentially use, you could see the mindset of Michael and how he's articulating specifically ways to be able to pros and cons, add value to said potential borrower. So let's get into that. In the next segment, I want to talk a little bit about what do you do to differentiate? And I know relationships is a big component of what you do within your organization. So I want to go deeper into that segment. So, when you're potentially looking to work with another agent or a new agent, or, you meet with someone, I know you have value proposition. There's a standard procedure that maybe you go through to connect, serve, support the community for, being a preferred lender. But what does that look like on your side?
Yeah. So for me, I lead, it's personality based. So I think it's important to know your personality. Not
Mhm.
all are going to be the same. When you think
Yeah.
about real estate agents, right? Some are fantastic door knockers. Others are great cold callers. Others are great open house people. Like it's not one size fits all. Find like
Nope.
what your niche is, right? And where your personality really flows. I have found that I am best at communication. So for
Mm.
me, and coming back to tech for a little bit, I try to run the same way with everything, which is when I meet a real estate agent and they're like, okay, they love to ask you this question: what are your niche products? I'm like, what kind of loans do you really focus on doing? Well, here's an answer for the entire real estate community. All of them. We are, we do all deals. I don't know why, right? There's none of us that just segregate ourselves and only do down payment assistance or just do non QM or just do private money. We work for a living, just like you as a real estate agent don't only sell $1.5 million homes. You might sell a $900,000 home and a $4 million home. I
Yep.
sell real estate, is what I do, right? So I find it that communication is so important. So, what I use from a simple technology standpoint is I'm very into a text introduction versus an email introduction.
Okay.
My number one red flag is when a real estate agent calls me and says, "Oh, I gave your number out to a bunch of people." No, you didn't. And if you did, they don't like you or trust you because they didn't call me, right? There was
Yeah.
zero connection. So either you're lying to me and you didn't,
Yep.
or know how weak that connection is. I always tell people, look, you and the buyer, you and the seller, whoever you want to introduce me to, have a relationship. It's as simple as introduce us on a text. Because what's going to happen is 90% of the time, this happens to me all the time. 9 out of 10 times, I get a text intro saying, "Hey, Joe, I want you to meet Sally. Joe and Sally, I want you to meet Michael. He's here on this text. He's the lender I really like working with. Great products. He's here to walk you through the process.
Hmm.
why don't you guys connect? Now I'll automatically send back a thank you to the agent that introduces us and
Yeah.
a soft line that says, hey, let me know when's a good time to talk. 9 out of 10 times, they do not respond for a day at minimum. Some of them, once in a while, like, oh, I'm available right now. That's a certain
Mm.
personality type that like jumps on things. But most people are busy with other things. So
Mhm.
they don't respond for a day or two. And sometimes they don't respond at all. But I now have a group chat to follow up with. And as simple as whether it's the next day or 2 days later to check back in and be like,
Mm.
oh, hey, every time they go, "Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot. Call me in an hour." Right? And what this does is also accomplishes communication with the real estate agent. The real estate agent knows that you followed up because many times they forget to have followed up, right?
Mhm.
And now that lead that they gave you with that communication, they're in the know. They know
Yep.
when you spoke to them. So then after I spoke to them, pretty I'm like, oh, just sent you a link to do the application and whatnot. And guess who's copied on that group chat? The agent who now knows and doesn't have to follow up. And it's just top of mind, FYI. So it's
Mm.
simple things like that that I've implemented. Keep communication. It's so important to keep the agent involved, not in the nitty gritty. The agent does not need to know what the borrower's debt to income ratio is, where his assets are, what his credit score is. That's not their job. That's your job as an originator. But what you can do is
Mm.
communicate and keep those lines of communication so open so that they know what's actually happening. Because
Mhm.
to me, my real point to all of this is I have done this for a long time. And I will tell
Mhm.
you that when a borrower or a realtor calls us frustrated, upset, bothered, always for the same reason. Do you
Hmm.
know what that reason is? We call it black hole syndrome. They're in a black hole and they just don't know what's going on. It's not even the
Mm.
information that, oh my gosh, I might end up with a higher rate, or oh, I might need a bigger down payment, or I have a problem with my credit. The problems we can all solve. It's not knowing and being in a black hole of like, what's happening next? Are you going to get back to me? Is there a solution to my problem? Communicate. And I find that a
Yes.
lot of people in both industries, from mortgage to real estate, like to solve the problem and then be the hero. I'm from a school of let's address the problem. Let's all be the hero together. But through communication, they'll appreciate, like you just said before, I didn't ask you to give me a plug, and I appreciate that you did. So thank you. It
Of
comes
course.
from communication. You picked up on the fact that I'm communicating. So you're like, this is a guy that would communicate. My advice to everyone that's out, communicate. Tell people if there's a problem, let's all solve it together, but let's just talk through everything versus you just solving everything, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that 100% agreed. And the plug was because of the fact that like you could automatically tell when speaking with someone. I mean, we're about 30 minutes in now and automatically tell like this person is going to be someone that you would want to go up to bat for you. And I could tell that you're someone that is a no bullshit type of person who's get the job done. And that's where I feel like I'm fine with the text message, but he's like, I'd rather have a quick phone call because of tonality, and then there could be like, say, for an agent and I was talking to earlier, he's like, all right, I got 5 offers and I call all five. Three answer, two don't answer. The two don't answer had the strongest offer. And then you text, there's nothing back. It's horrible. The communication, because, as we all know, if you don't know, 90% of the business in the real estate world, and I think in any industry, 90% of the business is done by the top 10%. And then
Sure.
90% is kind of onesie twosies and what have you. And so that's where I feel like, you could tell when you probably work with agents that are like, on it quick. Like it's like, let's get it done compared to someone who maybe thought, I don't know if I can qualify. I don't know if I can buy a house, or they don't have the confidence, but then they find out that they can buy it, but they still have some self-limiting beliefs there or whatever the case may be. And then it's like the realtor's job and the LO's job to like, let's push this person, through the process, kind of glorified, like a therapist here, right? To like, okay, you got this, this is how it works, what's going on. And that's where I feel like, and on the sponsor side, we want to level up this industry because a lot of these agents could do something as simple as having a generic calendar to be able to put things in perspective for the buyer to know what to be expected at one point. And then from there, fill in the blanks, over communicate, call, text, email on a daily basis. Because, when I was buying this house, 2020, coming from California, I was in the Bay Area to here now in Gilbert, Arizona, outside of Central Phoenix. I bought it sight unseen, and I use my sister-in-law back in California, and then a agent out here that I potentially thought we could partner up and see if there's opportunities to do some things because I do real estate marketing and have this podcast as well. That didn't work out. And at the end of the day, who knows what happened to that agent? But yeah, over communicate, it's stressful, and it'd be nice just to know exactly what's happening. And then, and you're so true. It's just like, just tell them, here's the problem. We're already working through it. This is what's going on, instead of just keeping them in a black hole. And then, emotions get high.
So, I give a lot of credit to, because everyone has a different point. And again, just another technology touch here, which is, do you remember when the dentist office started texting you? Hey,
Ah,
want to confirm your appointment. And they're like, your appointment's coming up in a week. And your appointment's coming up. Where did that all stem from? It actually stemmed from, if you research it, it's because cancellations cost them money. Their highest hourly rate is, let's say, seeing 20 patients a day. But if four canceled, they were just using that in their customer acquisition costs
yep.
of, well, we can only see 16. And then someone came up with a much smarter idea. No, you could see all 20. Let's lock the 20 down. How do we do that? A little bit of technology that says, hey, I'm going to confirm your appointment beforehand.
Yeah.
You're here. And really, what was the weakness? The weakness is that you saw a dentist and forgot about it. But now that they remind you and send you a calendar invite and over communicate with you, is it somewhat annoying? Sure, but you never forget your dentist appointment, right?
Yes.
And now what also puts the strength back into the dentist's office to say, if you do cancel the day of, you owe me money because you costed me money, right? Start thinking in those kind of ways. That was like the light bulb moment for me with like
Wow.
these group texts and stuff. And I was like, this is actually very smart. Why
Yeah.
not communicate with people what we're trying to do here? Back to my example, if you're a real estate agent, you give out three names and you're just waiting for your borrower to maybe call someone, well, good luck. You know
Yep.
what they're doing? They're ending up on Zillow or Redfin or something, lost, confused, no direction, right? You just threw them out into the abyss. Take control and be the narrative, be the offense and not just the defense, right? So things like that, pick up on other technologies in other industries that have really helped me. Always trying to just stay evolving.
What you said is absolutely gold. And I think that you can apply that for a real estate professional, something as simple as calendly.com, link that to your calendar system. I like Google Calendar. I like to live and die by a calendar. I like to pencil in as simple as a lunch and a nap. I like to take my naps. I do it every single day. I like a 3 hour in the morning. The gym's a big part of my life, and red light therapy and controlled breathing and taking my daughter to school, and then family time in the afternoon and the evenings. And so that stuff's all penciled in. And there's so many agents out there that don't live and die by the calendar. They bend over backwards for their clients. And then it's just like, then you're just literally just like, all right, you might as well just bend over to the whole entire transaction, because you're not setting a standard operating procedure or key performance indicators and setting a tone that's really going to level up your professionalism, awareness, potential referral opportunity. And it's as simple as, like you said, I mean, the automation these days with not even AI, it's just automation. I mean, you use Calendly.com and Google Calendar, and then you could set up automation from text, email, reminders. You can even drop in like a loom.com video and film a video and have the expectations set before you even meet the person as far as what to be expected. And that's what we do on the sponsor side of the show for Liftoff. Is like, if that person doesn't even say that they're going to show up to their meeting, or there's not a check mark next to the meeting that they're supposed to go to, we'll cancel that before they can cancel it on us, because the level of professionalism and the level of offer we have is for the top 1%. We're not interested in working with anyone and everyone, because it just doesn't make sense.
Right? It's not every personality is going to fit to it all at the same time, right? Are you familiar with like Boomerang?
No.
Oh, and I'm sure there's other ones, but
Yeah.
I would say that in the last year, I've been using, for all of those that are in what we call mail jail, right? What
Mm,
happens? Everyone gets 100 emails. Very few people are very organized with their emails. So the number one thing that most coaches will start with is a calendar. They're
yeah.
just trying to get you to first base. Like you
Yeah.
say, like, let's get things on a calendar, throw in your nap, throw in your time with your daughter, throw in like whatever it is, just so that it also helps from a coaching perspective of what did you do all day? If you can look at your calendar and see like, well, I didn't really block out any calls and didn't really do any door knocking, whatever it is, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what did I really do today? Well, I took my nap and I took my kid to school, and that was on my calendar, right? So
Yep.
kind of holds you accountable. But
Love that.
Boomerang that was introduced to me within the last year is if you are, so there's different personalities. The personalities are like drowning in email all the time. You ever see their phones? They have 6,000 unread emails. They're just not email organized
Yeah.
whatsoever. Then you have the polar opposite of people that don't want an email left in their inbox, right? Because they see those as tasks and reminders. And they're like, okay, I addressed it, I dealt with it, and now I delete it, right?
Mm.
Where I found Boomerang, which is a plugin to any Outlook, you can send an email, and with Boomerang, if there's no reply, that email comes right back to your inbox whenever you wanted it to. So, for example, I get introduced to a client and I say, oh, here's the link to do an application on my site. I can click the Boomerang button, clearly say, if there's no response on this, put this email back in my inbox in 2 days, 1 day, whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
now it's out of sight, out of mind. When I come back to work the next afternoon, the next morning, I see another email. I'm like, oh, wait, it didn't ever respond. That's an automatic follow up for me to know that, hey,
Mm.
didn't hear from you. I do that once or twice and still didn't hear from them. I can now reach out to the agent and be like, hey, did you have the correct email? Just wanted you to know, followed up once or twice, right? It's using those kind of things that can make you a lot more efficient. I think
Mm.
that in our industry, it's about finding efficiencies from real estate to mortgage via tech. Find efficiencies. A
Yeah.
lot of people in our business, I want to make a very different point to you, which is I have people on my team that are constantly looking for ways for AI to do their work.
Not there
I
yet.
don't know that they're not gonna, but I'm like, why do you want to become obsolete? And I have someone on my team that's actually in real estate and in mortgage and does both, and is constantly trying to find AI tools to automate the work he should be doing. And I'm
Mm.
like, I hear you, and he might be a step ahead of me. Maybe I need to evolve to him. But at the current time, it's like sometimes use them as efficiencies for you to do your job so that you're not overwhelmed, but not necessarily
Agree.
to delegate the work out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the next phase. Right now, we're in the phase of prompt to then doing as far as like text, blogging, various different things, script writing, what have you. The next step of AI is going to be actually task oriented type activities like, say, editing videos and doing various things like creating a thumbnail, uploading that video onto YouTube. And like that's not too far out as far as like the actual work being done outside of like you still got to pick up the phone and film. And then the AI can do the rest. Yeah, you can try to make an AI version of yourself. It's not quite there just yet, but it is becoming more of an opportunity. But I think that the people that are going to use AI to actually do their job for them are going to be a high efficiency person that's already like has like multiple companies and sees that that is something like there's no shortcut for I think someone who's like in the bottom 90% that's trying to get the top 10%. Like I'm just going to put it out there like don't try to use AI to then replace what you're trying to do unless you're so good at it that you're going to do something else and you need that help and then you could use the leverage for that. So I'm curious. I want to get into the next second, Michael, ask you some questions about we here in the industry, and I want to get your take on this. Agents like to see if they can leverage the loan officer or the loan company, the mortgage company, to see about, say, helping with tech stack, helping with marketing budgets to send out mailing campaigns or develop websites, to be the preferred lender on the website. What's your take on that when someone tries to, say, reverse engineer and approaches you and says, hey, Michael, I want to use you as your preferred lender. I did $48 million last year in business. It was whatever, 50, 60 sides, and would love to be able to have you featured on my website and would like to basically see if you would help with financially on paying a portion of the marketing budget. Have you ever been approached on that? And what's your thoughts?
So everyone's at a different stage in their career. I did that years ago. I'm also in a different market. So
Uh,
I primarily focus on jumbo. I'm in West LA. I cover most of Los Angeles County and Orange County. We're not, the average consumer is not that same as if you have someone in Pontiac, Michigan, right? It's a lot more widgets and units. So the
Mm,
average one has 100, $150,000. So it's like a lot more amount, the amount of production volume versus the production units are very
got it.
different. So that's like important to keep in mind. So I don't really work in those exact kind of markets, but I have in the past. I do
Mhm.
understand what they're based on. My humble opinion, and I'll bring out some of my personality with this, is obvious that I find that the number one sucker punch to mortgage people and real estate agents is we both get sold opportunity all day.
Mm,
It's
mm,
constant opportunity. If
mm.
one guy calls you back of these 100, you could make a 5% commission, which is 40 grand. I'll sell you 200 leads. And if you just convert 1% of them, they sell us opportunity, opportunity, opportunity.
Yeah.
However, mathematically, because I'm a math guy, anything times zero is always zero. If you give me 2,000 bad leads, they're all bad leads, right?
Yep.
If you can give me five good leads, and the cost is what are those five good leads? Are they actual good leads? So, coming all the way back, generally speaking, to your exact question, we get
Mhm.
approached, and I've been approached over the years for opportunity. Hey, get on our website, get in our email campaign, and maybe someone will reach out to you. Nope, never, haven't ever seen it, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't actually happen. Now, where it does work, and I have worked for joint ventures, marketing service agreements between real estate agents and lenders, where there's a true partnership.
Got it.
So to date myself a little bit, from 2001 all the way through 2012. So for over 11 years, I ran one of the largest joint ventures with the biggest Century 21 on the East
Mm.
Coast. Now,
Nice.
the reason I say that, and we were doing $200-300 million a year of revenue of volume as a loan originator. It was a
Mhm.
lot, and this was the number one office on the East Coast.
Mm.
But do you know what the secret sauce was? Yes, I was a good originator. Yes, I had a team of people under me. They were like, I had a team of 8, and we handled this massive account. But it all
Mm.
came down to one person. The office manager at that Century 21, who today is one of my greatest mentors, greatest people
Mhm.
I've ever worked with, he bridged that gap. Coming all the way back is you can invest and work with companies so long as they're invested in you and they're going to help you succeed in the relationship. And it's a two-way relationship. When they
Mhm.
just want you to go up on a website and spend money and like, pay for the car washes and blah, 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 and like, I'll give your name out, that's not worth anything. If you're
Yeah.
with a true partner, though, that's going to give you real opportunities. And they're going to introduce you as this is my lender. This is the
Mhm.
guy who I need his pre approval to submit your offer. When those are the words being spoken, then you're in a real relationship. And then it's just a simple ROI calculation of, okay, I'll invest X amount of money. How many deals are we doing? And it's simple. But it's important not to get trapped in those opportunity cells versus real partnerships.
There's 3 parts to why I asked that. Part 1, selfish. We have agents that wanna build websites and what have you on the liftoff agent side that sponsors the show that's like wanting to have a lender offset cost. And so I'm like, okay, like tell me more. The next one is that for agents out there looking to approach, say, someone like yourself. And the last part is that like what that look like even for someone who's an LO watching this, right? How do they not get burnt and go down that rabbit hole where they're like investing into some like technology, whatever marketing ploy. And like you said, is, are we talking about a partnership? We're putting something in contract. And then how many deals are we talking about? Let's do the math, and then you're still forecasting regardless if you're going to invest in however much. So very, very interesting. I was just kind of curious, like how you've navigated that. And very well said.
Yeah, because just break down the numbers. If a real estate agent came to me that does $20 million worth of business a year in gross sales, my first question is, why do you need me? You're making good money. So why are you leveraging me because you think I have a pocketbook pay for things for you? And
Mm,
in their defense, a lot of the management within real estate firms is what they tell them: find the lender, find the pocketbook. You know what I mean? Like they'll give you
uh,
money, whatever. So it's like, which is fine. And one of my closest relationships that I have, and he's probably going to watch this in some ways, is a buddy of mine by the name of Chris. And Chris and I met through Zillow. We met
Mm,
7 years ago, and he was like, "Hey, would you help me with some of my Zillow leads?" And I did pay, and I didn't get a single one of those deals, but I invested in Chris. And from that, Chris and I have an amazing relationship. We become very close friends. He refers to me all the time. It's not a pay to play of
yeah,
like, okay, so I'm sponsoring your Zillow. So it's if it's a way to open the relationship because you want to help them grow, then great. So long as we're growing together. I use Chris as a great example because we're
I love that.
great friends now. But did it start with Zillow? Sure. And did I sponsor him? Of course. But then
Mm.
he worked really hard to build his business off that.
Wow. I love that. No, kudos to you. That's awesome that you did that to be able to invest. And that's the thing too. Like, I like how you navigate the conversation from the perspective of personalities, right? And when you meet someone you just know, and it's like when you have a phone conversation and or you meet someone for the first time and you just know and that you just leave the conversation more energized than you were when you went into it compared to leaving a conversation where like I'm drained. I don't know what just happened the last past 45 minutes, but holy cow, I need a cup of coffee or something after that conversation.
We've all
Uh,
had those.
yeah, we've all had those before, which is, that's why Phil knew this could be a good conversation. So he's like, yeah, you got to get on real estate versus technology. We'll get it together. And so you're in Los Angeles, just to give some context. And if I'm someone that wants to buy, maybe I want to buy a home in your market, right? And I found your firm, want to get pre-qualified for, we'll say, whatever, $8 million. And I want to buy $8 million house. What does that process look like in the eyes of me working with you as far as me not being in that black hole and feeling confident through every step of the way?
Yeah, so there's a differentiation between, to back up for a second and then to really answer the question. I
Yeah.
went to work for one of the biggest institutions, one of the largest banks in the world today, Chase
Wow.
Manhattan Bank. And I worked there for less than 70 days. I
Mm.
couldn't make it to month 3. And the reason why is when they took me through training, this is 2016, and they were still working off of a DOS system for loan origination.
Whoa.
I was like, guys, how are you the largest bank? You have the most amount of customers, and we're still doing control C, F3, wherever. Like, why am I coding here to put in a loan? And they came out with this technology of a pre app where you can get the borrower's name, number, and his current address. I was like, what are you doing? It's
Huh.
2016. Why are you doing data entry? This is
Wow.
all self-populated now, right? So I couldn't work there because it just didn't make sense to me. And there were so many companies. I left there, I went to work for Capital One and other institutions like a guaranteed rate where I worked for a couple of years. These guys know technology and make it a very simple process for the borrower. So
Mm.
I believe that fast forward into 2026, I don't think
Yeah.
I think even Chase has evolved. So today, the
Wow.
process to answer your question really comes down to simple data entry from a technology standpoint. So I send them to a website, put in some of your basic information, send them a link to opt out of spam because we're still dealing with Congress and that stupidity that everyone could buy your data,
Yeah.
which I get it. Data is the new oil of 2026, right?
Yep.
So we get them to do an application. I then get some of their preliminary paperwork. And what I like to do at that point, which differentiates me, I have a 3-step process. So
Mm.
step number 1 is data collection. Just give me your data. Step number 2 is I have an assistant who happens to be my brother, who's on my team,
Nice.
or an assistant that's what they would refer to as a loan officer assistant that sits and goes through the questions and application with the borrower based
Mm.
on the information. Now, the reason I do this, and most originators don't do this, and most realtors get frustrated that people don't do this, is because the borrower should really only be talking to one point of contact, telling me
Mm.
information, and I go then tell it to him, who tells it to someone else, gave him a phone tag, everything gets lost. So I do
Mm.
not engage with the client to talk to them about their income, their assets, or their credit. I have someone that's a liaison directly into processing and underwriting that does that.
Love it.
Afterwards, I get a simple write up from the loan officer assistant that says, here is the story on their income, their assets, their credit. Okay, very high level. I don't need to get into the details. And then what I do is I set up what I love to call my budget call. And I get on a phone with the borrowers. I'm like, okay, Now I understand what you qualify for. I know what you pay in rent. Let's talk about what you want. Because the average borrower decided to buy a home, whether they were selling and up buying into a better home or a different neighborhood, or it's a first time buyer. One thing that they really care about is okay, when all this is done and all the noise is settled, I'm going to get a bill.
Yeah.
Can I pay that bill? And that's really what the lender wants to know also. I'm going to send you a bill. Can you pay the bill? So I love that conversation. It takes less than 10 minutes tops. I
Hmm.
get into a conversation with them on what is your budget? What is your dream payment? What's your stretch payment? If your wife found a house with a much bigger fence or it had the pool that you were always dreaming of, and we got to push that payment another $500, will that kill you? Will that choke you? Will you be stuck behind the 8 ball? Or like, what's the furthest we could push you to? And then let me show you the numbers and the option. From there,
Wow.
it's very, very easy. So it's that process that keeps them out of a black hole. When we're done, they're like, okay, I should go see homes this weekend because you and I, Michael, you and
Mhm.
I spoke, and you can keep me to $5,000 a month. It's where I'd like to be. Seems that the price points I'm looking at would keep me there. And it takes the focus off of financing, putting them right back into that emotional side of go find real estate that you like, go find the home that you like, go back to your agent that referred you, and now go find the home of your dreams. And I will facilitate it for you because we've already gone through all that heavy lifting.
Wow. I love that. Easy peasy, less cooks in the kitchen, if you will, and a streamlined process to be able to give that individual borrower like the confidence they need. I think that every agent out there needs to have a standard operating procedure and a preferred lender, someone that they could trust and someone that they can have that goes through an automation of a sequence. On our sponsor, we build websites, Liftoff Agent, and we like those sites that have a lender that's with the website that comes together so everything's seamless because we do a lot of pre-qualification questions that are asked to make sure that this person's actually gonna not just kick tires, but like actually want to be able to do something. And there's something to be said. I think that, and I've had conversations over the years, many, many times, nothing to say against the agent. I just think that where loan officers are completely missing the mark is that there needs to be no conversation with anyone out there who's viewing and listening right now with an agent until you meet with an LO. You need to be pre-qualified, understand what you can afford before you even talk with an agent. And I think that a lot of individuals out there, and I'm just going to be totally really honest. Okay, I'm only 11 years in, so I call me a green pea if you will, and only met 16,000 plus agents and done a few podcast episodes. I think 100% that the loan officer should be in control of the lead and deal flow, and you should have the actual pre approval first. And I think that Michael should have the upper hand in giving the agent the lead, and then the agent goes off and does what the agent does. I don't think that it makes sense in my eyes to have the agent be in control, handing you deal flow, because after today's conversation, you could tell how many people have said they had someone or they referred you to a bunch and you got not one single call. And the ones that even do text you, it's what 1% that say they're ready right now. And then you have to have a follow-up sequence or you have to use Boomerang like you talked about earlier. So I think from my perspective, whoever's now watching was an hour in, I don't know. I think it's asked backwards. I think the loan officers need to step their game up. I think they need to add more value to their specific market and talk more about what's going on to educate the specific individuals first and foremost. I'm actually doing street interviewing content. I just started this and I'm starting to put a series out. My first video went out just yesterday, 4,000 views in less than 24 hours. And I expected to hit millions of views, something like School of Hard Knocks. And a lot of people out there don't think they can afford because they don't feel like they have the confidence. So they don't have the knowledge because of the content, because of the government, and because they don't know how to save. And they don't even know how and what is the first steps to even be able to get pre-qualified, to even have the confidence to buy a house in the fucking first place.
Right. I think you're making such a strong point. And it sounds like I'm hearing my own voice in some ways because
I'm,
years ago, I was like, we need to shift this paradigm. The
yes.
truth is, it should start with the loan officer and they should control it for those exact reasons.
Financial
Um,
literacy.
it does. However, the problem is they need an emotional attachment, the customer first, to what they're actually buying. So
Hmm.
I do understand why they're actually going out to the open house first, because otherwise, like, but you should be pre-qualified first before you even know what you go out. And To me, I always laugh when an agent tells me, "Oh yeah, I want you to talk to my borrower. I just showed them 6 homes this weekend." I'm like, "You got in a car, drove around for 6 hours, and you don't even know if this guy can get a loan?" Well, he said he has a good job, and he said he spoke to Chase, and Chase gave him a prequal. I'm like, that's what you spent your day doing? You did not
Wow.
think to like vet this out for 5 minutes? Did you call the loan officer? Do you even know what questions to ask the loan officer? Or did you call and say, "Oh, are they good?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, they're good." You're like, "All right, well, you said they're good." You have a 3 to 6% commission riding on this. What is your hourly rate? What are you worth to spend
Preach it.
6 hours in a car with someone? Start thinking of yourself as a businesswoman, a businessman. Start taking accountability for your hourly rate. I tell the agents all the time, you're worth more. Stop going out there for 6 hours, to your point, when you don't even know if this guy could buy a home. What if he's just a looky looker? And then
Yeah.
you come home and you go to your spouse, and you're like, "Oh, that was exhausting. I just took someone out for 6 hours." Of course it's exhausting. That's a lot of work. And your social battery is drained at the end of it, right? And all for what? I mean, it's important that people should do. And I think the industry needs to shift. So I'm on board. Tell me what I got to do.
Yeah.
I'd love to help you change that.
Dude, 100%. And just to add to that, like, hey, you better be filming some content. You better be doing a day in the life vlog. And I understand like the first part of manifestation. Let's just say manifestation. Fine. You want that dream car. Okay. Go to the dealership, go sit in the car, go smell it, go feel it, right? You want that dream house. Go to the house, go touch it, go feel it, go be in it, go imagine what that would look like. But then that's like what you said. Agents out there need to be more illiterate. Like, hey, guess what? You got a business, treat your business like a business. How much do you want to get paid per hour? Make sure they get pre-qualified first. And then not to squash someone's dreams, but at least give them some, sometimes I'm the person who likes to say like, oh, I'm going to go do this crazy. Want to build I want to build a $300 million exit. Okay, great. I want to do the next 8 years. That's the goal for liftoff. Right. And then, my wife, my partner say, hey, slow down a little bit. What are we going to do today, tomorrow, the next day to even get to that point? Like I hear you loud and clear. And so I think agents need to set the tone a little bit more for those individuals that are thinking about doing this. And I think that they need to understand that financial literacy is first. And I think that the biggest thing is that LOs probably can, in my opinion, start doing content to be able to educate the agent on how to treat their business like a business. Because think about it, from the mortgage standpoint, you have standard operating procedures, key performance indicators, you're dealing with money, right? There's no way around it. On the real estate side, it's a little bit more loose, right? You're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with other things, and you're also dealing with people that can take you in different directions or give you a 6 hour freaking showing for the day and then emotionally you're drained. So if the LOs are just, they're used to the standard procedures and key performance indicators, well, then start putting out content to serve the industry and to serve also like the average consumer on the literacy of what it looks like to be able to have some realistic um, expectations when it comes to hitting those goals. So that way individuals can be like, oh, I've watched all this content from Michael and he makes a lot of sense, especially if it's like entertaining and fun sense. And that's where I think even street content too, like, get out there in the streets and have your LOs go interview the general public and ask them, do you own and rent and why? That's what I'm doing. And then why do you rent or why do you own? And then I'm going deeper as far as do you even remember the agent that you worked with in the first place? A lot of like people forget their agents after they go through escrow and close on the house. So I don't know. I don't know. It's something to be said and something that I just have thought about over the years, and we work with a handful of LOs at Liftoff Agent, but it's far near in between because of the fact that for some reason the front people are the agents, LOs are in the behind
Right.
the scenes.
They are. And I'll just quickly, and I know we're rounding out here, but I'll just give
Yeah.
you the best parable that I ever use. And for agents that are listening here, think about a therapist, right?
Mm.
So if someone needs to see a therapist because they're having issues, mental, stress, whatever it is, you want to go see a therapist. A therapist will know before they spend 1 second with you how you're paying them every time. You don't go to get to talk to a therapist for an hour and then afterwards go, I Venmo you, tell you I don't really have some money. Like, I got you next time. No therapist would sit with you for even 1 second without knowing how they're getting paid afterwards. Real estate agents need to start thinking themselves because you are therapists. They are. So why are you working for free and doing 6 hours of therapy without knowing how you're getting paid? Right. So
Mm,
lock that up front and think of yourself as a therapist, because as you get into that grind, you will see you are the therapist.
yep.
Every agent will tell you. It's a lot of therapy work that they're doing. So make sure you're going to get paid for it.
Amen. And use technology for that. Video, websites, social, long form, YouTube, blogs. People are searching. You're found. You're the expert. Build the know, like, and trust in your sleep, parasocial relationships, and be able to have more liftoff. Shameless plug, liftoff agent. All right. We're going to end the show now. Michael, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Every show, we like to go ahead and put a bow tie. Let's wrap this up, put a bow tie on it, close out the show. You just gave 'em a ton of things to think about. Y'all need to go back, rewatch, take some notes. This has been a fire episode. First time, actually, you and I have met as well. What would you like to leave with the viewers and listeners as we close out our show today?
Just gratification and appreciation for you. Honestly, I think that when we talk about tech and the way that the industries are evolving, I think that we need, like you just said before, we need to be on more podcasts. People need to know who we are. There's a stigma around real estate agents and mortgage people that they're just people with pen pockets and stuff like that. There's a lot of personalities out there. We're all working really hard. Get yourself on a podcast, put out a video, let people know the human side of you, and use technology to help you do that.
Ooh, I love that. Man, Michael, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
jumping on. Trust and Phil, trust in us. This has been an amazing episode. Thanks so much to our viewers and listeners. As it is our intention for you to take these from our episode to apply to your business and have more massive success. Big shout out to Liftoff Agent for sponsoring the show and our editors and production team. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Give us your commentary. Go follow this man. Social media links down below. And we will see you all on the next one.